welcome. Backs were turned. Now everybody wants it. That's because we made it. But I remember what lean times are. And I remember how you have to keep fighting to get what you want. So.
My son actually works at the top.
Of course.
And he's a senior.
Well, good afternoon, Yakima Downtown Rotary. Only one downtown today.
I love him. Just the most beautiful skin, doesn't he?
Yes.
Thank you for hosting us today.
I better be quiet and pay attention.
Our greeters today, Cal Blevin. If you didn't meet him, come again. Cal, stand up. Let people look at you. If you're still here, there he is, the far corner. Somewhere in a very pink and white shirt that we have to think is red. So, thank you for greeting. And let's see, our music is going to kick us off. And if you have your phone, make sure you turn it down or off.
Just turn it off.
Teresa.
Step further.
Don't get excited, I'm not singing today. I know, I'm sorry. But I wanted to do something really special in honor of the woman that is speaking for us today, and the topic that we have, I think, is really, really important. So I actually asked a friend of mine if she knew anybody who could come in and do some traditional music for us. And when that didn't work, I found a song online called The Women's Warrior Song. It was written by Martina Pierre Alewat, who is an elder in BC, in honor of missing and murdered Indigenous women.
I'm here today to honor all our missing and murdered women across Canada. As you know, we did a walk for justice last summer, and we walked from Vancouver to Ottawa.
Thank you, Teresa. Next, our invocation. Former co-district governor, I'll call her, Jan Lurie.
That's a stretch, Rick. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm a substitute today on short notice, so I hope I meet with your approval. I consider it such a privilege to say the prayer today, especially with the program regarding the disappearance of Indigenous women. I wear red proudly to honor these people. Cissy tells us it's from their innocent bloodshed. That's what the red represents. Our speaker today is Cissy Strong Reyes. She has a powerful message, and perhaps we can help in some very small way if we listen with great care. I would like to ask you to bow your heads in prayer, please. Father, we thank you for this day, for the giving spirit of the Rotarians in this very room. We pray that our speaker, Cissy Strong Reyes, will continue to be given the strength, the courage, and the wisdom to help her increase awareness and solve the problem of this horrific injustice. May we give comfort and support to this precious woman and show gratitude for her tireless efforts to solve this problem. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Jan. Next, I'd like to welcome all of our guests today. And if you are a guest, would you mind standing so that we can see you and acknowledge your presence, and thank you for coming. And after this meeting, hopefully, you might even have an interest in joining our club, and welcome you to ask questions and ask about membership. Rotary Workday was just, last weekend, I believe. Anybody in the room participate? Yeah, I see some hands. George, raise your hand high, because you participated and beyond, right? I understand from Celisa Hopkins, who chairs the committee, that it was a successful cleanup in all three areas. There was only one, it wasn't a fatality, but it was an injury, I believe, when George Brown tried to take on the fence and lost. So, but George is here, so we're glad to see you, George. I understand that the monument at East Yakima Avenue looks fantastic. A couple of the original trees or shrubs were cut, and so the monument itself can be seen better. I was hoping to get by there before I came to the meeting, but I didn't make it. So if you're going that way, please take a look at it.
And did a great job in terms of first aid on mine.
Oh, who did?
Andy.
Oh, Andy Webb did first aid. All right, blessings for Andy. Good thing we had her there. How'd the Greenway look? I'll ask. Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Great. Anybody fall in the lake? Rotary Lake? Oh, hey, well, thank you for being there, doing the cleanup. Show that Rotarians were at work. Thank you. Imagine Rotary conversation that we had in March. We received all the results, or received the results, and kind of listed the results, all the input. We're in the process of distilling that. Aaron Black, the president-elect, is going to be taking this information and working with the board retreat to begin with, to see what to take from it, how to implement it into our strategic plan going forward. So it hasn't been forgotten. We are just getting started. Just wanted you to know. Thank you for your input and attending that day. Rotary Marketplace Paver Project. Let's see, I don't have to announce it. Must be all done. Oh, no, John? Okay, it's been delayed a week. Delayed a week. Curbing is going in, and that was needed, and I guess some gravel still needs to be down.
And what we're trying to do is build anticipation for the day that you get to do this.
That's right. This extends the time to anticipate it and get excited. So volunteers are needed. On your tables, there are some sign-up sheets. 3 shifts a day. Those were Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but not this coming week, but maybe the week after, we'll hope. So it's an amazing project. Hope those of you who feel capable will get involved. Bring a stronger friend and make it happen. Just wanted to little announcement about the Taco Fest. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is sponsoring a Taco Fest. Who hasn't heard about the Taco Fest happening on Saturday at the State Fairgrounds, or the Central Washington State Fair? It's not State Fair.
No, is that
Central Washington Fairgrounds? Saturday. I have a time here, I thought, 2 to 9. Who hadn't heard that before?
Oh my golly, the coverage is amazing. So, sounds like it's going to be a great event, and I'm sure they'll appreciate our support if we can provide it. And then I did send out an email that I send out weekly, but the Downtown Association of Yakima, if pavers are too heavy and you can't get involved in that, how about planting flowers? So they need volunteers to plant flowers that are going to decorate our downtown area. Also, there was another.
May 19th.
Yeah, May 19th starts at 7 a.m. for planting, but then they also need some help, I think, the next day for hanging the flower baskets.
It's actually the 13th.
13th.
The 13th, the Saturday before.
Great. I'm sure glad you're here, John. Thank you. Keep me honest and accurate. All right, Kathy Parrish is going to introduce a new member. I am still having problems with this handoff. Okay. Go ahead.
All right. President Reck and fellow Rotarians, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce my good friend Diana Meacham. Diana was born and raised in Lewiston, Idaho. After graduating from college and living in Seattle for 45 years, she moved to our city in November of last year. She's become an incredible addition to our community. She grew up fishing for bluebacks and camping on the beautiful lakes in Idaho, including Lake Pend Oreille. She graduated in communications from her sister school, the University of Idaho. Go Vandals. There's a rumor of her family being involved in painting our mascot Butch pink in the 60s, but no one is talking. She's a brave one. She jumped out of a perfectly good airplane in her 20s. This was before tandem jumps were popular, so it was a static line that opens your chute as you jump out of the plane. I'm not sure how willing she was at that point. I wouldn't be. Evidently there was some hesitation in the pilot face, and she rolled out. Anyway, after a bit of confusion on her spotter on the ground, she did land safely. She's quite the world traveler, starting with a trip with her mother as a girl to Germany and Austria to meet her pen pal. She's traveled to Italy, France, Switzerland, the Czech Republic, and Costa Rica. She's a mortgage professional with Academy Mortgage and has been in the industry since 1994, so very, very experienced. She prides herself on the personal guidance and care she gives to each client when she works from beginning to the end of that finance operation. She has a sister in Alaska, a niece, and a nephew, and 4 great nieces and nephews. They are a group of Mariners fans who love to attend the games together. She has a passion for hiking and enjoys golf, snow skiing, and her new sport, pickleball. I'm so happy to introduce my friend and now Rotarian, Diana Meacham.
All right. Thank you. Diana. Oh, no, Diana. Stay here. I just wanted to ask, you're in the mortgage business. You know what the interest rates on real estate loans are today? Well, yes and no. I don't want to know how high they are. I just want to know. And the 6s. Okay. All right. We have quite a few items to present you today, so don't get overwhelmed. Okay. First, a plaque that can go on your wall, anywhere you'd like to put it. And a Rotary license plate holder that identifies you as a Rotarian, which is not bad. And let's see, the roster makes you really makes you an official member, because you'll be able to contact anybody in the club and find out what committee they're on and who the board members are and all that. And then this is a red badge. And when you come to the next meeting and you're wearing your red badge, every blue badge member here should seek you out, because you provide immunity to getting fined by the Sergeant Barnes. So you have power. And you can say, hey, come with me, because I've got a red badge. Anyway, congratulations. Well, actually, that brings us right up to our speaker announcement. I don't think I've forgotten anything. Oh, who needs Sergeant Varsity? Who's doing it? Oh, Rich. Are you ready? I can't even read my own notes. I'm sorry.
So guests don't have
I'll
to
wait
do
and
this.
apologize.
Rotary members have to give $1 or something.
Yeah, you don't have to.
You don't have to do it.
Everybody else has to.
Everybody else does.
But you guys don't.
If you've forgotten me in the last 15 minutes, pay $1. If you know me, you probably figured this would be about sports, and you'd be right. But before I get started, I want everyone to look around your table. Look at everyone's badge. If you're at a table with someone with a red badge, you're good to go. If you don't have a red badge at your table, pay $1.
Don't guess count?
Guest count.
Huh?
Bruce, you can pay $2.
I would think guess count. We're with all guess.
Yeah.
There are 3 red badges.
There you go.
All right. Yeah, it sounds like we're going to do that from here on out, or at least for a little while, President Rick. All right, great. With baseball season just getting into its second full season, I think we had really good weather yesterday, but it doesn't seem like baseball weather today. Thought it might be nice to go over a little bit of the history of the Seattle Mariners, our major league team from Washington State. But before we had the Mariners, we had the Seattle Pilots. And the Seattle Pilots were an American League expansion team in 1969. And even though they weren't the worst team in attendance, they did finish in last place, going 64-98. However, they did have a lot of money problems, and they were basically bought out of bankruptcy because they were devastated by debt. And a guy that a lot of baseball fans don't like bought the team, the future baseball commissioner, Bud Selig, who took the Pilots and moved them to Milwaukee and became the Mariners, or excuse me, became the Brewers. And in the aftermath of that purchase and relocation to Milwaukee, the city of Seattle, King County, and Washington State sued the American League for breach of contract. And that lawsuit went about 5 or 6 years until 1976. And once they got to trial, the American League offered to give Seattle an expansion baseball franchise in return for dropping that suit. And the details were ironed out over the next year. And the name Mariners was chosen by club officials from over 600 names submitted by 15,000 people in a Name the Team contest. Confident that Major League Baseball would return to Seattle in a few years after the Pilots left, King County built a multi-purpose kingdom in the mid-70s. It would become home in 1976 to the expansion Seattle Seahawks, and the Sonics also played there. It hosted a bunch of NCAA regional tournaments as well. And then the Mariners started play in 77, and the Kingdom remained their team's home until they moved to Safeco Field in 1999, and their home is now T-Mobile Park. The Kingdom was imploded about 20 years ago, and Seahawks' current home, Lumen Field, is on that spot. All right, let's get ready to raise some money from Rotary. I've got 6 questions for you. Harry, I think you can answer most of these. But if you do miss a question, please pay $1. Question number 1, who was the first Mariner manager? Was it A, Maury Wills, B, Dick Williams, C, Darrell Johnson, or D, Bob Melvin? Answer is C, Darrell Johnson. He was hired in 1976 to become the first ever manager, and he lasted about 3.5 years before he was fired in 1980. So if you don't have that, pay $1. How many years did it take for the Mariners to have a winning season once they came to Seattle? Many? I don't have many up there. But Amy, it's how you want to look at it. So A is 5 years, B is 8 years, C is 12, and D is 15. The answer is D, 15 years. It was the 15th season in 1991. It was the first winning season as the Mariners finished 5th in the West with a record of 83-79. Easiest question here. The Mariners mascot is what kind of animal? A, Sasquatch, B, moose, C, lion, or excuse me, C, bear, or D, lion? Everyone knows that the mascot's the Mariner Moose. His appearance has remained pretty much the same since he was introduced in 1990, making him one of the most recognizable and longest lasting mascots through all of Major League Baseball. But did you know that the Mariners had a mascot over a decade before the Moose? Can anyone name it? I know everybody picks on Harry, but Harry, you're a big sports fan. Any idea what it was? Well, if Harry doesn't know it, the team previously held a mascot competition in the late 70s. They really were into the Mariner, or excuse me, the San Diego Chicken. Does everyone remember him? Oh, yes. And so they wanted a mascot. But the winner of that contest, the mascot was named Spacey the Needle. which was a man that wore a hat resembling the top of the Space Needle while on stilts. If you think that's silly, the number 2 response was a man in a diaper. I don't know what that's all about. However, Spacey was plagued with mobility issues due to being on stilts, and it was retired after only a few games. I was able to find one picture. It's actually a screenshot, and it is ugly. That's perhaps the least attractive mascot in pro sports history. And I'm pretty sure John Cooper designed that. Question 4. In 2001, the Mariners tied the Major League record for wins. How many victories did they have? 116. A, 101, B, 106, C, 111, or D, 116? Amy?
D, 116.
Amy's right. The Mariners' 2001 season was the 25th since they started. They finished with a 116-46 record, tying the Major League record for wins set by the 1906 Cubs. And it was the best record ever for an American League team. And it was also, that seems notable because Ichiro was the debuted and was the Rookie of the Year, led the league in batting average, and also won the American League MVP award. Unfortunately, they became the first team in Major League history to win 110 games and not win the World Series, which was matched last year by my Dodgers. Number 5, which Mariner received the largest contract in club history? A, Julio Rodriguez, B, Randy Johnson, C, Ken Griffey Jr., or D, Edgar Martinez? A little bit of a trick question here. The American League Rookie of the Year last year, Julio Rodriguez, he signed a complicated extension that guarantees him $210 million over 12 years. That's just a little bit over what minimum wage will be here in a few years. But it could grow to over $470 million over 17 years if he meets a few things, which I think he has a good chance to. It's going to be a huge, huge contract, but $470 million, that's a lot of money. Last question. Seattle will host the Major League Baseball game, All-Star game this year. How many times have they hosted the Midsummer Classic? A1, B2, C3, or D4? Answer is 2, even though I have 3 logos up there. They hosted the Major League All-Star game in 1979 and then their record-setting 2001 season. This year will be the 3rd time ever, and it will feature the All-Star Futures Game, Home Run Derby, and a 93 edition of the All-Star Game. They'll have additional festivities all throughout Seattle. Mariners are currently riding a 3-game winning streak and in 4th place. Just keep an eye on them. I think with Julio Rodriguez, they're going to do some good things in the next few years. Thank you very much.
I don't think I've forgotten anything else. I believe now is the time for Sonia Rodriguez-Troop to introduce our speaker today. Sonia is a current Superior Court judge. Make sure I'm on that. And she'll make the introduction.
Okay, here we go. All right, first, just a word about the art that you see displayed. And so let me say something about that. As a senior at A.C. Davis High School, Morgan Green, an enrolled member of the Muskogee Creek Nation in Oklahoma, painted "Silenced." This acrylic on canvas depicting a Native woman with the red handprint over her mouth seeks to bring attention and support to the missing and murdered Indigenous women movement. This work currently hangs in the United States Capitol, as it was selected as the winning entry in the Central Washington Congressional Art Competition. Morgan signs all of her paintings using her great-great-grandmother's native name, Yahola. And Morgan is the daughter of our member, Trevor Green. Okay, now to our speaker. So I'm not going to read the introduction from the tutor. I'm going to let you know that Cissy Strong Reyes, I first became aware of her and really began to admire her on Facebook. I became her friend and I just started following her. And it was extremely, I don't think the word inspirational does justice to the sort of leadership that Cissy has displayed and has brought to the missing, murdered, and Indigenous women and people movement. And I also want to welcome her family, Linda Randall and Sammy Strong, who are also here to join her. The missing, murdered, and Indigenous women and people movement has been an epidemic probably for centuries. But Cissy Strong Reyes has the courage and dedication to bring voice to this tragedy, and it is through her leadership that it has become nationally, statewide, and nationally known. She's uses more than persuasive eloquence in her leadership. She's extremely humble, and she just shows a lot of pride in what she's doing. And she's a very strong voice. This morning when she was being interviewed by KNDO outside, I met up with her after the interview and I asked her about, how the interview went. She said, I just really appreciate being able to amplify being the voice of the movement and to bring that awareness to her sister. So I've not met Cissy Strong Reyes until today. I've just admired her from afar, and I was very pleased and grateful when she accepted my invitation to speak to our group today. So without further ado, I'm just welcome Cissy Strong Reyes.
Hi, I'm Cissy Strong Reyes. I am a Umatilla member, Yakima Nation, and Mexican. I'm 39 years old. I have one sister. I have a brother. And this epidemic hit my home in 2018. Going back that far does trigger me, but it needs to be talked about. And I'm going to start off with that year, which was October 2nd. The reason why I started looking for my sister was because I got text messages that my sister was hurt and she was not okay. Me and my sister had a bond. We communicated every day. She was lost in addiction, but that didn't change my love for her. She was a mother of 4, and she was my best friend. And there were challenges and barriers that I had to deal with law enforcement. When I went October 2nd to report my sister missing, I was given her criminal history. and that's why I was not there. That she was just out there partying and doing drugs. She probably lost track of time. But we only know as the family member our movements of our family. And the officer wouldn't listen. And that's why I started advocating so relentlessly and hard, because I don't ever want to see another family go through what I went through. And that week in 2018, I had no clue what to do. I had no one to reach out to. I didn't know where to start. So the first place I started was social media, my Facebook. Has anyone seen my sister, Rosenda? None of her friends responded. The ones that were with her every single day never messaged me back. So there was immediately red flags. And I kind of knew who she left with, because September 30th, she came home, she changed. And this is the one thing that I'm glad I got, was I love you, Nana, which means sister. She gave me a forehead kiss like always and said, I'll be back. And that was the last time I saw her. She was going to our local casino, Legends. She entered with those friends, exited with one of them, and was never seen again. That same week, my cousin Roxanne White, who was advocating for this movement a couple years before 2018, and she saw that I was looking for my sister, and she just showed up at my place to work in Toppenish and said, I'm here and I'm gonna help you. And then I didn't quite understand why she came so quickly until she told me those words. Law enforcement isn't gonna help you. And I said, well, they were here earlier. The FBI was called in, only for as a favor because of my cousin Kevin. His sister's brother works for the FBI on the reservation. And the messages that I got is what alarmed them. That the person that wanted to get this message to me said he wasn't sure if she was shot or stabbed, but she was bleeding and I needed to look for her. So that's when I started being, then I didn't know I was being her voice. And this is very heavy. It's triggering. And I hope things have changed since then. But my cousin Roxanne White organized a walk through my hometown, Wapato. We took the streets and we marched through Wapato screaming her name. We made posters. Where is Rosenda Strong? Has anyone seen my sister? And she's missed every day. I do miss my best friend, and it was my only sister. And then rumors started going around. About 3 weeks in, I got a message that I needed to look for a freezer because that's what they had her in. I called the FBI. They said it was hearsay, that they couldn't just go out there and look. So me, my brother, my husband, my cousins started looking at ditch banks, or I contacted one of my cousins in White Swan since he worked for Wapato Irrigation, and told him if he came upon any kind of appliance like a freezer to call tribal police. And now I'm gonna jump forward to 275 days later. That's exactly what she was found in. Less than 4 miles from my home, at milepost 64 on Highway 97. And I didn't find out from the FBI. I was actually working at a hotel up here in Yakima, and I just happened to have the TV on in the room, and all I heard was human remains found inside a freezer. And I don't know what made me think I felt it. I can't explain that feeling, but I knew it was her. My manager let me leave work that day, and her remains were found July 4th at 4:20 p.m. And that was probably the most devastating day that I have ever experienced. To know that that's how my sister's always gonna be remembered, was the woman that was murdered and put inside a freezer like she didn't matter. That she didn't have family that loved her. So I started being her voice. One way was through Facebook. Joining marches. I traveled to Idaho, Lummi, Seattle. Carried pictures, because that's all I have left of her. And this epidemic is only growing. And I fight really hard for this movement, not just for my sister, but I don't want any other family member to go I had to go through. With no resources, nowhere to go, no one to ask to make flyers or posters. Most of the flyers that are here today, I paid out of pocket for, or MMIWP and families that's out of Seattle, Washington donated to me or gifted to me by volunteers. And it was really hard. I was in a dark place for about 2 years after my sister went missing. I was mad at everything. Even when I did events, it wasn't that I was mad at the fact that I had to do these events to bring attention to what happened to my sister and how she went missing, how she was disposed of. And I don't wish this pain, this trauma on anyone, not even the ones that took my sister, because then I'd just be just like them. So I fight really hard to keep visibility on my sister. And then when she was found, I didn't get to bury her until 3 years later. The FBI kept her remains for that long. And in our culture, traditional way, we're supposed to bury our relative or our family member after 3 days. And I didn't get that. I had to wait. I didn't get any updates. And as a family member, we shouldn't have to call for updates to law enforcement or the coroner's office or the FBI. They should contact us because we're the ones that are dealing with that. And we are the experts at this because we are experiencing everything that comes with it. So I do events to bring awareness and to amplify voices of the missing. I share my space with other families if they need it and if they want it. also do it because my sister still deserves justice. In these past 5 years, I've only been updated once. And I just want to see in the future for our elected officials that we vote for to do better. And for, if we have a liaison for MMIP in our general area, they need to do better. Because there are families that are still out there in my same position with no media coverage. They can't amplify their voices because there's a lack of communication, no transparency with the family members. And even if I know you can't give a lot of information, but as a family member, it'd be nice just to get an update that we did not forget your family member, that we are doing everything we can. We are following up on leads. Just to hear that would make us feel better of knowing that they didn't sweep our family member under the rug, or it's not sitting there under a pile of other cases and not being looked at. So I fight with my voice because it has made a difference in this area, and I'll continue to keep doing it until my sister receives that justice. And all I can say about that today is that it will be this year. And when it does happen, I would like to ask those people why. Why did they have to murder her? Why did they have to throw her away like she was garbage? Like she didn't have anyone that loved her. And then to have that taken away from me without her permission, without mine and her family, was something that I had to cry. I fell in depression. I lost weight. And it wasn't a very good feeling. Because where I come from, an Indigenous community, and being an Indigenous woman, we're more likely to turn to alcohol or drugs to numb the pain. But I chose the other way, was to fight for my sister and to keep the visibility on her. And finally reached out for help through the local Victims Resource Program. I'm finally out of that dark place. I'm not walking around angry or with my head down. I'm a student at Heritage University, and I just want to make a difference for my sister and for Indian country, because it's so disheartening to see so many flyers on Facebook getting shared over and over, or having new ones generated. And sometimes they were last seen at the casino. And I just want my community to know that I am the voice for Rosenda Strong, and I will keep fighting. I would rather be boots on the ground and to stand with families, to help families amplify their voices, share my space with them, because that's important to me. Because I don't want other family members to feel like their family member didn't matter. I want their family members to be a voice for their own. I'll help, and you can take it from there. Because you don't need anyone's permission to share a flyer. But these past 4 years, I share every Thursday on my social media. It may be pictures or the banners that I have of my sister. And I haven't missed one Thursday in 4 years. I attach maybe a memory, or I hashtag with Justice for Rosenda, break the silence, she mattered, say her name. And just like all the ones that are still missing matter. And I just think that if we created something to let the community know that we have an epidemic through Yakima Nation and the Yakima County of missing people, that would probably bring more awareness to our community. Because I feel like our community needs to know that we are an epidemic of missing and murdered. And my sister is one of them. And it is work, but I just wish that I could see more happen in the 5 years I've been doing this. And I know it takes time. I know there's a cold case unit gonna be coming, the MMIP alert, but I think these should have been established given the fact that this epidemic was happening in Canada during the national inquiry that led into the Highways of Tears, that led into the United States. And we have 40 people missing on the reservation today. That's the highest in this region. Seattle is second. And I just want to see more places that families can go for banners, a poster, and attend the events. When I do events I usually post them on my social media. Everyone is welcome because you're part of the community. My sister was part of the community. We were born and raised here. Our family's here, our friends are here. So everybody's always welcome to come. In the past 5 years, I probably did about between 13 to 14 events so far. I just did one for my sister's birthday on April 15th. And I'm glad that law enforcement showed up to that one, which was the Yakima County Sheriff's Office and Wapato City Police Department. And then I did an event in February on Valentine's Day. Is another day to remember the missing and the murdered, and to just have displays of them that they won't be forgotten, and that they matter. They were people, they were loved, and they're missed today. And I just hope to see more funding for searches. I have only done one search and that was really heavy. And we need volunteers for that. I know we need more investigators because I know right now there's only 2 for the reservation of the 1.3 million acre reservation here. But I know they're doing the best that they can. And I was glad to be updated on April 15th, but I was still not updated the past 4 years. And then when you fall into that gap of do they care? Is my sister's case just sitting there collecting dust? I wasn't wrong, but I just want to see more transparency with families, more communication with other law enforcement, sharing the information that we have missing people throughout the Yakima County, throughout the Yakima Nation. And I think that if that was to be more of law enforcement sharing that with each other and their neighboring law enforcement, maybe we can start getting more answers to the ones that are still missing today. Tomorrow they have a march in Toppenish through the Victims Resource Program. I'll be joining that. And then I'll be on my way to Seattle for our 3rd annual march for MMIWP and families. And I'm just glad that I just started a new job, and I'm glad that I was able to get hours in so I can travel over. Because seeing all the families that come around from these areas and to hear their stories that are similar to mine is heartbreaking. But it needs to be talked about. Everyone needs to know what's going on in our communities. It's heavy, and I know this is probably, y'all hearing this is probably heavy for you all. And I just don't wish this on anyone, because it's a roller coaster I have never been on in my 39 years. So I do have posters here of my sister. Most of them are probably the pictures that I picked because there's a memory behind all of them. The beaded medallion that I wear around my neck right now is the beaded medallion of my sister made by her friend. I have been just trying to do the best that I can for missing and murdered and for justice for Rosenda, but I'm only one person. So if everyone shared the missing flyers that generate over social media, even just on Red Thursday, just by sharing it, would let more people know what we are facing here in our own community, what is going on in our community, how many loved ones are missing, and what is the issue and why are they going missing. If you have children at home, talk to them about this, because that's where it starts, is with our youth. I have 2 sons, but they're older. My youngest is a senior this year. My oldest is 25. I have 2 grandchildren that I have to think about as well. So I try to do the best that I can as an advocate, but I still have to remember I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and I'm a grandmother. So I just want to thank Sonia for allowing me to come and inviting me, because I think this is where the community can start helping in some kind of way, or getting it back to the ones that have been elected that can start doing something about the epidemic that's growing. I know yesterday, I know Maria Cantwell was talking about my sister's case, and it's just devastating that senators or governors have to look at these cases and think, when is it going to end? When are we going to stop going missing? Why are we the ones that are going missing? So my prayers are with everyone today. I hope you don't leave with a heavy heart. If you do, please pray for yourself, and mostly pray for our community and the ones that are still missing today. And I can't wait to see the ones that murdered my sister and disposed her like she wasn't a human being, to be put behind bars. And even when that happens, I'll continue to keep fighting for missing and murdered, because it's just the person I am, and I don't want other families to feel how I felt. There are pictures up here that I'll be taking with me over to Seattle, and I hope that this epidemic stops, but right now it doesn't look that way. So thank you for listening, and I am a boots on the ground advocate. I'd rather stand with the families or to walk beside them. So it's an honor to be here today and to have everyone's attention. And justice for Rosenda Strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosenda, for sharing a very heartfelt story with us, and I just am amazed by your strength, your personal strength. Kind of goes with your name, I think. But you've made a difference. You're continuing to make a difference, and it is so sad to hear the number of missing in our valley, and without any knowledge of why or even where or what. But appreciate sharing your story. We wish you well on your trip to Seattle. There is a celebration of, let's see, Missing and Murdered Indigenous People Healing Round Dance at Heritage University this Friday, the 5th, from 6 to 7 p.m. There'll be food and drinks provided, and anyone who would like to attend is invited to do so. So thank you for sharing your story, and please, I'm going to just say, anyone here who has questions for her, I'm sure she'll stay to address them. So thanks, Rosenda. Next week's program is going to be a community service project. I'm looking for excited faces out there. If you don't know what it is, then I guess I better tell you. We're having a wreath making project to create bouquets for delivering to Fieldstone Retirement Center, to hand out to the ladies, the mothers there, who maybe are alone in life, or just would like a little bit of color and interaction with a Rotary Club member when that delivery is made. So we need to have all of you here, because Andy Webb's going to teach us how to make bouquets. I'm excited to learn. My wife probably is excited for me as well. And I just hope that you will come and stay and participate. I think it's going to be a great fun, a great opportunity to spread some good cheer for Mother's Day weekend. So we'll see you then. The next week, Fabiana Ahumada, Saving Bees One at a Time. Now that's kind of an interesting topic, isn't it? So you have to come and find out what it's all about. Bob Gerst is the one who procured the speaker. He says it's a great topic, and it ties right in with our valley, and with bees and hives. So be sure to attend that. And then academic scholarship awards will be all these will be at the convention center. We've had our vocational awards last week, which was again very compelling, and it was just a great program. I think we'll have the same feeling and from our scholarship award winners at that program. So that's a couple weeks away, but look forward to seeing you there. At this time, we are adjourned.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, Jane.